Hi, I'm Trevor Lund. I'm the pastor of Harvest Community Church and blog at revtrev.com. And in this short video, we're going to talk about how and why the Bible is attacked outside the church. In a previous video, we talked about how scholars attack the Bible, and in this one, we're going to talk about how the tabloids attack the Bible. And they see the fingerprints of man. Tabloids, every few months, you're going to see this hidden books of the Bible, guaranteed way to lose weight, hidden books of the Bible, how to have whatever. It always happens. What are these hidden books and where they're coming from? I gotta tell you, they're not hidden. I got copies of all of them. Happy to share them with you if you want. They're secret, the lost, the forbidden books of the Bible. There aren't any. Most of them are Hebrew books, and I'm going to break up those two of them into different sects. The first one is the Apocrypha. Apocrypha means hidden books, and these are included in the Septuagint and the Vulgate. They are in Catholic Bibles today, not in Protestant Bibles. These books are quoted by the early church leaders. Jude quotes them. I think John quotes them too. First John. It basically, they're popular books around the time the Bible was being written. They're like today, Swindoll, Lucado, Myers, whoever you're reading. If you're a pastor, or your pastor quotes them Sunday morning, not at the same level of Scripture, but very, very close. Not very close. Very, very good for building up and encouraging you. Right? Not a big deal. As someone who loves history, I love reading the apocryphal books. You learn so much of how people are thinking, what they're doing, what was important to them, and they have a huge, huge historical value. I don't consider them at the same level as Scripture, but I'm not Catholic either. Okay? Next set of books, pseudepigrapha. Pseudepigrapha means false writing. False writing. These are the falsely attributed books. The earliest one is from Enoch in the 9th century, and they go up to about the 2nd century AD. And basically, they're anachronistic. What that means is Enoch. The book of Enoch talks about things happening in the 9th century, when Enoch lived way, way, way before that. And so, again, they were popular books at the time that the scriptures were being written. Not as popular as the apocryphal books, but people read them, and they were part of it. I don't think there's much evidence to suggest that people thought that they were from the time that they purport to be from. For the most part, not a whole lot of discussion that I've seen in the early church fathers about these being part of the canon of Scripture. And I'll explain all of that in a later video, how the Bible came to be. The third set of books, not necessarily Hebrew books. These are Gnostic books. Gnosticism, what I believe, came from outside the church and into the church and almost took over the church. And that is a huge debate on whether it started in the church or came from Eastern religions and came in. Doesn't really matter. But Gnostic books are important today for some very important reasons. Almost all come from a Nag Hammadi library. This is a library of was sealed up in clay pots, put in a field, and I think in about the 60s, early 70s, someone was plowing in the field and broke open these clay pots and found all of this ancient writing, and really surprised a lot of scholars. The Last Temptation of Christ, the movie, comes from Gnostic writing. Jesus was on the cross thinking, maybe I should get off, and Mary Magdalene, that's Gnostic writings. Dan Brown's version of Christianity, where what's the name of the book? Where why can't I think? Angels and Demons. What's the one after that one? Anyway, where Jesus, the cup of Christ, is a descendant of Jesus and Mary. That all comes from Gnostic writings. When Gnosticism was early on in the church, you can see John writes against it quite a bit in 1 John, 2 John, 3 John. Even his gospel talks about light and darkness. He uses language that's very similar to Gnosticism, and it seems like the early Gnostics, before it kind of formed into this thing that was Gnosticism, were like John's writing, but he actually countered them, and saying, like, if you don't say Jesus Christ came in the flesh, you are not you were the Antichrist, basically. And what were Gnostics saying? Well, they were saying that the Christ came on Jesus at the baptism and left Jesus before the cross, and it stood on the hill, and the Christ stood on the hill and laughed at Jesus while he was on the cross. Gnostic writing, if you read it, and when you read it, don't read it, but if you come across it, it just doesn't even feel like anything Christian, and that's because it's not. It's a different worldview that almost took over Christianity in the early part of the church, but it didn't.